Hello, good morning. My name is Luis Ferreira. I'm coming from the National Innovation Agency from Portugal. And first of all, a message to tell you that we are very happy to be here, to see colleagues from the eBuy My Plus project and some of other colleagues. The reason of this presentation was to fulfill at least two goals: to expose ourselves to our experience, the Portuguese experience about the use of instrument of the Horizon 2020. So we thought that within this program it would be a nice way to share with you some of our experiences. Maybe they are common learnings or common aspects that we could discuss later on. And this is so that to tell you that it was a really nice opportunity to be hosted here and to participate in this seminar. The topic of this presentation was exactly the state of play of Portugal in the Horizon 2020 IPP and PCP projects. And I organized this presentation with this structure. I will tell you, I'm coming from a different vision from this process. Our colleague is from a purchasing body, I imagine, a national agency for procurement. I'm coming from the innovation, some of the other side. It's not exactly the other side, but sides that are coming together. So perhaps it's important to share with you some of the role of the agency in Portugal, because there are some differences perhaps in different countries. I will introduce maybe some knowledge about to share with you to introduce the instrument of the Horizon 2020. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know in some details. To share with you the experience we did and we are still doing in Portugal with this instrument, and at the end we'll talk about some learnings that we took from our experiences. So, the National Innovation Agency basically is tutelaged by two ministries, the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Economy. We have two shareholders, the Science and Technology Foundation and the Public Institute of Support of Small and Medium Enterprises. Both are our shareholders in 50%. So it gives us a floor, a very nice platform to be in the middle of these subjects, to be very much connected with the innovation system, with the research system, and the businesses. So, we have different roles. Basically, we are a big national facilitator of innovation in collaboration. Means that we bring together, we promote very much the collaboration between R&D centers, institutes, knowledge centers with industry, trying to develop this innovation to the market. To do this, of course, this basically is very much collaborative, technology-based innovation, and for that we manage different instruments, funding instruments, fiscal instruments, other instruments, not financial instruments, basically to raise the knowledge of companies doing R&D and their competencies, and of course it's one of the main mission of the agency to raise the investment on R&D. Before I introduce the instrument of the Horizon 2020, that it's perhaps very of your knowledge, I call your attention for the need of financing in the innovation procurement. And if you look to this stairway, we see that there are different steps, different needs of financing. From the implementation phase, we don't need so much resources to open up procurement, to try together and to find solutions. But when we start introducing the concept and initiate with acquisitions of R&D, of course, the needs for financing are completely different, and that's why we need instruments, maybe different as we saw in different stages, but what we are going to see is that the Commission is trying to introduce this new procurement concept in the EU from started from the Frameworks Program 7 and still incentivize and very much promote through Horizon 2020, very much based on the development of a joint EU strategy to foster research and innovation, developing strategies in the public sector, introducing new participation rules for innovative procurement, public procurement, and introduce these two funding schemes, the PCP, the pre-commercial procurement, and the innovation, procurement of innovation solutions. This scheme is very, perhaps it's very well known from you, but just to explain from those that are not familiar with this instrument, these pre-commercial procurement basically fund 3 phases, from the development of R&D until a phase of a prototype ready to be tested, not to as a final solution. And the other instrument supports something different, to bring the innovation to deploy commercial solutions in a completely market context. For that, this instrument is very much organize and ask a project consortia of a group of buyers finding common needs, bringing common needs, looking for solutions. Normally, there is from this buyer a lead procurer that it will be the one that launched the tender, and these tenders are bidded by different suppliers to supply exactly R&D services or these prototypes. This is the basic concept of the consortia that is using these instruments. Sharing some details about these 2 instruments for this group of buyers in a pre-commercial procurement. The incentive that are allowed to use it cover 90% of the costs, and they can use 30% for networking or for coordination actions. With regards the PPI, the Public Procurement of Innovation Solutions, the one of the phase 4, this is not so generous. So the group of buyers is allowed to use to be covered by 30% of the costs, but 50% of this funding can be used for networking and for coordination actions. Now I'm going to go in more details now what we are doing in Portugal, and this experience was very much based on this methodology. So what I'm going to share with you are some results of a workshop that from the first time we work with this community, Portuguese community of procurers and companies that were involved in this Horizon 2020 project. So one of the first barriers was to find them, where they are, who they are. So to do that, we involve our national support program service to collect information about the projects, the organizations. We contact them, we reunion them, and we start organizing this workshop. And for this workshop, it was one of the main goals to ask them what was the experience, what was the learnings, exactly to feed our purpose to look to them as a target group. You can see from this that we don't have so many projects yet. So basically, from 2014 to 2017, we have 12 projects, 6 CSAs, which means that are people looking to the future, organizing themselves to see how they are going to, what kind of innovations and preparation of the next step. We imagine PCP, it would be natural. We have 5 PCPs and 1 innovation action. From those projects, from in particular the CSA projects, these are the sectors we found projects in climate and environment, 1 project, 2 projects in the energy sector, 2 in ICT, and just one in security. So these are perhaps the promising sectors where we will find in the next years results or willing for PCPs. I'd like also to share it's a very simple way to show you that we have for each PCP, we have 1 in health, 1 in space, 1 in climate and environment, ICT and security, and I share these names of these projects by a reason. Maybe some of you, we know from the colleagues from Greece that they are also participating in fabulous projects. So if you see something common in your countries, and if you want to discuss something later on, please come. These are the 5 PCPs that at the moment are in operation in Portugal. Actually, we are coordinating. We were the launching country, so we were the tender was, we are the leader procurement of the Marine Aero project. Now it comes to the questions, the kind of questions that we would that we try to gather and to promote a discussion among this community, which you now imagine that you know now that it's a small community. So we try to know what was the motivation to participate in these projects funded by Horizon 2020, how it was the experience of this participation, what were the learnings. Since the phase, as you see, we need for each instrument, maybe it's a good idea to have a support service for these instruments. So we would like also to know how it was the phase of the preparation of this, how supported they were during the preparation phase. If they consider that PCP or PPI are interesting instruments and sufficient enough to cover the funding needs of their organizations for these public procurement initiatives, and how it was the response from the side of the companies. How many companies, how was the participation, the tendering, the bidding of Portuguese companies in these processes. We received these answers, which are very much resumed here. So, about the motivation, it was very easy to learn that it's a very nice possibility to buy together. It's a safer way to buy together with other EU buyers, and it was a useful solution for co-funding. So co-funding, it was really one of the motivations that gave us the next answer concerning the experience, and one of the answer was, I will start for the last one. So sometimes it's difficult to find the covering of these funding needs. We identified that there is a lack of legal support. All of them were claiming for this support, and sometimes it's difficult to some entities to find this co-financing for these consortiums, for these projects. In general, the funding is enough. Everybody wants more, but we find that they are comfortable for that. Concerning the participation of Portuguese companies, we realize that it's much easier. It's difficult it was difficult to gather the information about tenders that were not launched by Portuguese entities, but those that were launched by Portuguese entities, we receive an answer that around 20% of the bidders were involving companies from Portugal, which is not bad. Now sharing some learnings. And I think it could be interesting for next discussions. Maybe you have already think about that. You have these answers from your countries also. But it was clear for us that without this instrument, and it's important to tell you that we don't have national instruments to support IPP, either PCPs or innovation procurement. So it would be very, very difficult to feed these projects or these to still have these initiatives without instruments. So Horizon 2020 is a good instrument, and we learned that maybe we need to complement this instrument with other national instruments. We are doing our way in this direction. We confirm that there is a general perception that innovation procurement is a risky task, is a risky practice. So it was a common understanding that without funding decreases really the risk. It's important to of course, we need perhaps other instruments to also support the capacitation of these procurers. We learned that support services to buyers is highly recommended, and that's why we are also combining eBuy Plus with other projects very much oriented for the capacitation of buyers and procurers. And something that we learn also, and it's a bit for our internal consumption, for gathering this information, that there is a difference between those that launch the tenders, that are involved in the tenders in this particular instrument, from those that are following this launching of these tenders. We met different buyers, and we could realize immediately, maybe this is a good insight for you, if you want to learn for those communities in your countries, we realized that we gather much more information, and those that were involved in the tendering process were much more skilled after the project than those that were following these tenders. And that's all. It was a short communication, but of course we are open for discussions, and any question that you have, please go ahead. Thank you very much.